He doesn't need us, but is looking for available men and women to be the quote-unquote Moseses to his people. And that's the beauty of God. I think I shared this maybe last week in between songs. I don't remember, but like it's powerful and hard to even wrap my brain around sometimes when I look at all the people God used throughout Scripture. And every one of them was definitely not perfect. And some of them like committed huge sins that like in our day and age, people would excommunicate people for that. Like they wouldn't allow them to be in ministry ever again. I mean, you look at David. And so like I think where that really hits home with me is he doesn't need us, but he wants us to join with him in fulfilling his mission and to be his hands, to be his feet, to be mouthpieces to his words, like Moses was. And even Moses said, God, you're going to need to give me some help because I can't speak well. And yet that wasn't an obstacle to Jesus. He said, no, I choose you, and I will enable you. Something that a previous pastor said to me years ago, and it's just always stuck out. I don't think it was an original saying with him, but I first heard it with him, was God doesn't call the qualified, he qualifies the called. And so many times we feel like, man, I'm not equipped to do this. And I think that's where we resort to fear and lack of self-confidence. And really, that's the enemy speaking lies into you, saying, yeah, just look how bad you are. Look how ineffective you are. Like you can't be used by God. But God, even though he doesn't need us, he's looking for available men and women to be Moseses to his people. Last thing I want to share today, as I was reflecting on this, I was reminded of a song. So I have, if you look at my phone, I have two different recording things, like voice memos, and then another type of similar to voice memos. And I have several partially written songs on both of those apps. And I just record them, and then a lot of times I don't do anything with them. And I was reminded of a chorus that I wrote several years ago, and it was went right with this. And I wanted to share this because here's the context or the story behind. So if this ever becomes a song, this would be the making of the song story. It was 2016. I don't know if you guys remember Christina Grimmie. She was a singer that was on The Voice. And she was somewhere in, I think, around Orlando area. This was June 10th of 2016. She just opened up for somebody, and she was signing autographs at the fan table or whatever it was. And quote-unquote fan, somebody in the crowd came up and shot her several times and killed her. And then her brother, jumped on the guy, and the guy ended up committing suicide himself. But, apparently they don't know if he was planning to kill more people or not. 2 days later, June 12th, Orlando, there was that shooting at that nightclub. I think it was the nightclub. Mass shooting. And so I don't remember where I was. I remember we were driving. I think we were driving on vacation somewhere. These both things had just happened. Of course, they were all through the news. And I was just I don't know. I didn't follow Christina. I didn't really know her songs. And so I don't have any personal connection with anybody involved in either of these two situations. But I just remember feeling heavy-hearted about it. I was like, man, what is wrong with our world? Why are we so messed up? Why does this happen? And the verse that came to my mind is, God is making all things new. And I'm like, oh, what does that mean? In the midst of tragedy, how is he making all things new? And so I started coming up with a little bit of lyrics and a melody. Actually, for me, the melody usually comes first. Lyrics usually is the biggest struggle for me. And so a couple weeks later, this is what I wrote. It says, your promises are true. You're making all things new. Even when our eyes can't see it, when our heart, or the first line I had was, even when our eyes can't see it, you're working in our suffering. You've not forgotten us, so in you we'll put our trust. Be still my soul in you, for you are making all things new. So like even when our eyes can't see it, like in the midst of tragedy and things that didn't even relate to me, yet it still felt a heaviness. And this aspect that God is in the business of making, bringing dead things to life, taking shattered things, making them beautiful, and rewriting our stories to bring him glory when it's all said and done.